Good morning, good evening, good night, depending on what time you're listening to this. And thank you to the Victory Lap of the Victory Podcast. Just wanted to drop a quick little episodette, not quite a full episode, about the Christmas time. And I did an interview on WBOK 12:30 a.m. here in New Orleans, talking about the podcast, New Orleans issues and politics, and just a couple other good nuggets. So check it out, and thanks for listening.
WBOK, New Orleans.
Hang all the mistletoe, I'm gonna get to know you better this Christmas. And as we trim the tree, how much fun it's gonna be together this Christmas. The fireside is blazing bright, we're caroling through the night, and this Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me. Presents and cards are here, my world is filled with cheer and you.
This Christmas, man, yes indeed. Not last Christmas, not the Christmas coming, but what, Monique?
This Christmas.
This is a wonderful morning. Like I tell you every morning, hey, let's celebrate getting up, right? Because the opposite of getting up is not getting up, man. So anytime the Creator's giving you a chance to have another breath, another second, another minute, another hour, day, week, month, year, man, you have a chance to make it all right. Or if it was already good, to make it better. And if it was better, to make it fabulous. First name Fab, last name Ulysses. And that's what we have in the studio this morning. Man, we have the host of Victory Podcast, Monique Henry, man, one of the most talented young executives, man, and professionals in the country today. Also, one of the most conscious people, man, in using Victory Podcast, man, to inform people all over the country, all over the world. Monique Henry, welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
Well, first of all, who is Monique Henry and Victory Podcast, right?
Okay, so it's Monique Henry Watson now.
Monique Henry.
I'm a married lady.
Yeah, hey, Mr. Mo Watson, hey, forgive us, hey, we love you, bro.
He's all right. He's
okay,
all right.
All right.
So Monique Henry Watson, I'm from New Orleans. I know I don't have the traditional New Orleans accent for our New Orleans listeners. From here, grew up here, went to school away in D.C., back for grad school.
Went to Howard.
Went to Howard.
Shout out our
University.
HBCU.
HBCU love to all those out there. Went to Howard for undergrad, came back to New Orleans for grad school, master's in public health, emphasis in environmental and occupational sciences, working at their research and development site in Palo Alto, California. So that's Who is Monique Watson. And the Victory Podcast is a podcast about sharing powerful stories of people being victorious over a variety of things in their personal life, whether that's career things, right, grief, what have you, having people on talking about those issues and then asking them, tips and tricks or things that they use to get over or work through and become victorious over their situations.
Wow. So, hey, guys, before we get into this program, just wanted to open up, man, I want this whole city praying for and positive energy for brother Willie Chill, Mr. Chill Wilson, man, one of the great people of our time that God put on this earth, man. He gained national acclaim for giving free haircuts with a generator on the neutral ground at Claiborne Napoleon after Hurricane Katrina. We know he's the barber and he's an NFL players here in this city. He's been one of the biggest contributors and sponsors here for WBOK, and he's my friend. So for Chill, we love you. And Eustace Gilmet, man, one of our top activists and advocates, wanted me to remind tell everybody on his behalf, happy holiday. All over the world, Santa Claus is a black man. Well, Eustace, I let everybody know that, right? And we hope you have a wonderful holiday. Monique Henry, Victory Podcast is committed to, its mission is committed to what?
So really the mission is about sharing these stories. I've grown up, and for whatever reason, I think I'm just a really nice person, and I treat everyone, whether it's the custodian walking down the street, if I met the president of the United States, hard pass on that one.
But you'd be respectful.
I'd be respectful.
Right.
I treat them the same. We all put our pants on the same, running full force and jumping with them on.
Yeah.
But I've always grown up with that. And for some reason, people have always been comfortable with sharing their stories with me. I've been told from people, like, you really listen. I don't judge. Look, what people do in their lives, where they've come from.
You've always been the mama in the family, in that side of the family. If people are comfortable with you.
They are comfortable. So that turned into a prayerful time with God and talking with him about, what is my mission in life? What is my why? What I do is what I do, but what's the why behind it? And it's to help people. And this is a way a lot of people go through things and feel like they're all by themselves. They go through grief. They go through whatever. Yeah. And so putting that out there so people know they're not alone and maybe they're in a similar situation and how they can get through.
With your undergrad and your graduate in health and safety, I noticed on one of the podcasts you talked about mental health and therapy.
Yep.
Right? And that's been a major issue. We 100%. Have a segment, Mentally Speaking, here. We have contributors here that we've been pushing. The host of Mentally Speaking, the segment we do on my show is Victor Sims, Brian Turner, who's one of the heads of tenured at the psychology department at Xavier, is one of our contributors. Dr. Tammy Lewis Wilborn, who's been featured at Essence, also contributes here. Frederick Walker and Kia Stepton with Walker Family Service, who talk about family therapy Monique, your background in public health, and I always ask each of them, we're hearing a lot of talk about mental health and therapy, but it's in many cases not being resourced to the level that it should. What are you seeing?
So I mean, once again, I'm not a mental health professional, so I'll take this all with a grain of salt. I think I think people about the right amounts. You have to really work with your doctor. It's not a one and done. Every person is different around the medication side. And then really in the crux of that, in addition to like psychotherapy from a psychiatrist, which is the medical professional, the psychologist understands some of that why in some issues. Not everything is medication required or necessary, right? Knowing what that balance is and really getting at the crux of why what your issues are and what's really behind that.
I think that's a good point. I think we're learning that, and many of the experts who've come on this show said there's separate categories when you talk about mental health. There's several inflictions, diseases, those things that we get sick from or affect us. Mental health is the same way. And in our community, in many cases, either you were crazy or you were criminal, and we treated it. And we treated it as such.
Right.
We didn't look at what you're talking about, and we treated it as such.
Right.
We didn't look at what you're talking about, those different categories and different methods of treatment. So I agree with you. That's what we're learning now.
Yeah, I think especially in the African American community, and that's the only one I can speak to, is the one I'm a part of. We've had a long history of stigma around mental health, right? Especially those who have a religious background. Oh, you just need to pray more. You need to spend more time. You need Jesus. Let me lay hands on you. And to be clear, I'm a woman of faith. Jesus Christ is my Savior.
Right.
That is fine in situations, but it's okay. God puts people like psychiatrists and psychologists in this world for us. A little bit got something they're going through. Whether it's something that on the world scale seems small, but it's important to you and it affects you. And my father-in-law is a psychologist. He teaches at UNO and all this. So I've always been a big proponent. Look, get the help you need. Have that conversation with an impartial party, somebody who's not your mama, because maybe it's the problem you have with your mama. It's not your pastor, because maybe you don't really like your pastor. Maybe that's part of the problem, and you can't be talking about church members and all that. That's fine, but having an impartial person that's going to talk to you about these issues that you can kind of work through.
The first time I needed one, I said no. I said, man, I don't need to talk to no shrink, and that's what I refused to. And it was when my Bradley, my oldest son, died in a car accident years ago. I was like, why would I do that? I can deal with it. I can handle it. Until I realized I couldn't. And in our culture, it was like, okay, especially for black men. No, man, I ain't talking to no psychiatrist, talking to no psychiatrists and no psychologists. Right. And that stigma in our community, it seems to be waning or going away, but it still persists, especially 100%. amongst black men and many black women.
Yeah, I think it's definitely still a stigma. It's something that, if you think of it more so, and I try and tell people this even in my work life, think of it starts with a conversation. Mm-hmm. This isn't necessarily going to go to the extreme of you're going to end up in the crazy loony bin because you're having a conversation. Right. Talking to someone to express your feelings, having a goal in mind when you're going to therapy. What do you want to achieve? Those are the types of things you run into. Helping people understand helpful, and there's a lot of information out there. And then it's not like finding a doctor, just like if you broke your arm or you're going to your doctor for your normal physicals, it takes a little bit to find the right one, right? So you've had doctors that are a little bit like very robotic and all that. Right. And then some people who are more have that bedside manner. So this is getting that right fit and realizing that might take some time.
Well, we're having our conversation with Miss Monique Henry Watson. She's the podcast host of the Victory podcast. She works in corporate America. One of the larger corporations in America, which she's under health and public safety. Impeachment.
Okay.
Impeachment right now, Monique, seems to be dominating much of the discussion, whether it's barbershop, beauty shop, or on national news. What's your take on this impeachment scandal, or whatever it is? Whatever it is.
So I think we're on the right course. I think people say, well, what's the point of impeachment in the House if we're not going to be able to remove the current president from office in the Senate? I think it's important for our legislative representatives across the country to stand for some see in the seat of history where they stand on this issue. And what I see as obvious abuses of power and inappropriate use of the office of the president in the use of this president. And so sitting down.
That's interesting. And I actually feel the same way. I've presented it the same way. You know, are they wasting a lot of time, especially given the makeup of the Senate? Yes. But in terms of putting this president on notice, right, at this time in history with this behavior, I think that's really, if they can't accomplish anything else, I think it's necessary to do that.
Only a few things to check the executive branch that the government is empowered to do, and this is within the empowerment of the House. And next step is in the empowerment of the Senate. This is their constitutional duty to, when we have such things, and the founders put in place some sort of structure to have these checks and balances. Forward thinking, I guess, enough to imagine a president that could test these limits, right? We haven't run into this to this level before, I think. Maybe a little sprinkling in the Nixon eras and so on and so forth. But this is their constitutional duty.
I would think there've been some abuses before, but not uncovered.
Not uncovered. Not to this level where it's public.
Not this
where
public
he
level.
said it out in the street, as in on Twitter, for somehow screaming your offenses online makes them somehow less obvious versus if they're uncovered.
So let's talk about checks and balances, right? Okay. What show, right? Okay. WBOK. What you do with Victory Podcast. We see African-American media in many cases, like we're losing African-American financial institutions. African-American media outlets have been gobbled up the last few decades all over America. We're seeing the need now for more voices, your voice for which you do Victory Podcast. We're seeing the need now for more voices, your voice for which you do Victory Podcast. What we do here, many others, talk about the need for those voices, especially that represent our community and our culture, and the need to be objective. And also because when I watch Fox, I eventually turn it off. When I watch CNN, because Trump seems to have ended both, no matter which side you're on, it's hard to get good, clear, objective news with information where you can make your own decision.
Yeah, I think taking it all in some way and discerning the information, looking away from the opinions and, you know,
tuning the talking heads out, right?
Yes, and looking at the information, doing research from regulated sources, right? If you're looking at unemployment numbers. What does the Department of Labor say? Not looking at what does Fox say, what does CNN say, what does MSNBC say. Looking at those things, and then same kind of discernment you need to use on the internet. Just because it looks like an authenticated news station, but if it's I'm a Democrat and I hate Republicans.com, that's a problem.
Just like it could be photoshopped, it could be information shopped.
Exactly. Right. At least make an attempt. I mean, a website and things like that. But if you're going directly to the Department of Labor, if you're going directly to the FDA for food information and what's being recalled and what's the word on the street, those are at least credible, reliable sources.
But do you think that's what makes what we do increasingly more popular now? Because people are really kind of getting fed up with the way information is being spewed, right? With the way it's being spit. You know, I don't need anybody telling me how they feel. What I need them is sharing the information. Correct. Now, I don't mind a little entertainment. I don't mind putting a little spin, a cut on it every now and then. But just give me the root of it, and then I'll figure it out.
I think presenting things in this is the information, this is what worked for me, that kind of context, but in a level that says, look, it may not fit with your opinions, thoughts, feelings, is a good way to get information to people, but letting them and send them to resources for more information. I think it just makes it easier to digest. And that's why news shows like this one, information like The Daily Show is another gaining more popularity because people are looking for the information in a way that isn't as preachy.
And we can entertain you and have fun. Like we like to have fun with the early bird right here on the Good Morning.
Exactly.
And have fun. Like we like to have fun with the early bird right here on the Good Morning Show. Look, you're out there. Your career's taken you all across this country, all across the world. I mean, in Canada for a while.
Yeah, I lived a year and a half in Calgary, Canada. Yeah.
Right, but your place of birth, right? Your family comes out the Lower Ninth, right? Then punch the train. You from the Lower Nine and don't mind that? I'm glad we changed our mind.
I'm from the Lower Nine. I'm from the Nine. And I love to live and continue to live.
We changed our mind about that second half of that stuff. But being away, living around the world, working in corporate America, this state and its challenges. You know, the other day I told people, hey, call me and let me know what blew up. You know, if something in your neighborhood blew up, we're watching our infrastructure fall apart. We're looking at our politics, right? Probably one of the most popular governors in America barely won re-election just because he was a Democrat. Your view, Louisiana and New Orleans from afar. Give us that perspective.
So I've
Uncut Real Talk. Good morning show.
Uncut Real Talk. New Orleans especially has probably one of the most unique city cultures in the world.
We got our first black people.
What I'm saying, we are making strides in an amazing way in a lot of areas. But we suffer from a lot of the same symptoms that a lot of major cities in the country. Infrastructure is a thing everywhere.
Right.
Poor infrastructure. That combined with the challenged political history, I would say, with different amendments and the lack of attention or corruption or what have you, that doesn't only occur here. To be clear, it occurs other places, occurs in the White House, whatever. I think those are challenges that is unfortunate that are coming to light and kind of all coming to a head now. So it feels like everything is blowing up all of a sudden.
Good point.
Think I feel for our mayor, and it's just going to take a piece by piece investment to say we're going to have to figure out how to get and or spend the money, getting the right amount of money.
She keeps saying the time is now, and
now.
That was interesting. That your view from afar, you were like, no, the stars are lining up right to begin to not only observe and see the same thing, but people are having a difficult time wanting to handle and deal with all these things now. But as you look from afar, this is the moment in history where we are.
Yes, this is where we are, and then honestly, we need to move forward of thinking about the future. If you do it now and you plan for the investment of the future, it's definitely a thing. Years ago, the whole of the future is definitely a thing. Years ago, the whole light rail concept, we were going to get federal money from the state, and we're going to have this light rail loop. And yes, it would have went to like BR and then airport and downtown and that whole thing. And we didn't, and we passed.
We didn't.
And I think Baltimore got it, I want to say. And if you go to Baltimore today, and especially their waterfront area, it's exploded.
Yes.
So those are the types of investments and things that you make now. You say we're going to spend the money now. People now won't see it, and that's okay. Washington, D.C. years ago, in the infrastructure for their public transit system. Those are things that allow people, and those are the things that my generation is looking for. When they move to a city, I want to be able to walk to the things I want to do, maybe take a train, do whatever.
There's
and
no
those are the
better
things.
place for that. We're the number one special event city in the world. When the NFL surveys Super Bowl attendees, we come out, no matter where they a number one site. This little city here, man, is going to break all the tourism records by 8 million visitors in the next survey.
The question is what percentage of that is going into the pockets investiture of the city of New Orleans?
But hey, did you guys hear that? Someone who's from here, who doesn't live here right now, she said when we're grading success of these major events, whether they're tourist-related, entertainment or sports related, we got to figure out at some point what percentage of that goes back to the people here.
Exactly.
Wow. Monique Henry, Victory Podcast. How can people watch Victory Podcast? How can they follow you?
Follow us. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. Podcast.com. It gets you all the stuff.
You're going to sit in with me, man. We're going to talk to one of our great OIG, Derry Harper, about some of his findings. Very interesting findings with the Audubon Institute.
Awesome.
Hey, guys, look, when we come back, we're going to talk to Derry Harper. After Derry Harper, we have Mr. Darren Browder and Jesse Manley promoting reform in the Orleans Parish Criminal Court System. At 9 o'clock, Tremaine Lewis, Executive Director of the Charlize Cure Foundation, their event for raising children with special needs. And at 9:30, outgoing President of St. John the Baptist Parish, Natalie Rowbottom. Monique Henry Watson, host of the Victory Podcast, OT and the Early Bird. We'll be back after the break.